This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is C.R. Rice, who's eating pizza. And our guest today is M.K. Williams. Woo-hoo! Second time on the show. Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking. I'm more than halfway done with my coffee, cinnamon, honey, half and half, but with Founders Club Whiskey Road from our Skunk Brothers Spirits, who's our sponsor. DWA10 is the coupon code. CR, what are you drinking? Yours was elaborate.
Bougie drink.
Yes.
So I ran out of green tea. That's how this started. So what I did was I took lemonade, added vodka, and then I did a mixture of raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries. I just threw that all in there. Now it's healthy. I'm getting my fruit of the day and a buzz at the same time.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. MK, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the ever classy Franzia with ice because nothing says classier than Franzia with ice out of my Drinking with Authors cup.
Woo, Drinking with Authors cup, swag out there when you're on the podcast. Okay, or if you reach out to me and just say you want swag and do a review, I'd probably give it to you. Did we have the shot glasses when I sent you that cup?
The two shot glasses.
We have shot glasses.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the cup because what's great is other people come over and this is the cup I give them because I'm the author and they're with me.
Ooh.
Oh, I like it.
Oh my goodness. I was interviewing Rick Hines the other day and he said that he actually he had kept it in his cupboard, but he went to Mexico to an all-inclusive resort and he was like, I don't know why he decided he was taking this cup. I didn't get to that point, or he said it and I was too drunk to remember what he said. But he said that he had taken it down to the resort. And what he found was, because it's all inclusive, you get free drinks, but they'll give you little teeny plastic cups with drinks unless you have your own cup. And so he brought the Drinking with Authors cup because it's got a lid and he would just put it up. And I guess his drink, which is ironic because he's like writes this dystopian like cyberpunk, but the drink he was drinking was strawberry mojitos the entire time he was out there.
It's good.
Yep. And he's like, he would just put the cup on the counter and they knew the Drinking with Authors cup, strawberry mojitos. He's like, it was a lifesaver, best cup ever. I was like, good. It's going to good use out in the world there.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is rapid fire questions, but you've answered a lot of these before. So now I'm going to mix them up. That and CR's come up with some really cool ones. So Let's start with, what is the best book you've read in the last year?
In the last year, the best book I've read. Okay. It was a slow burn, but I'm actually going to say The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It was really slow to start. I almost DNF'd it, which I didn't want to do because I've liked everything else that V.E. Schwab has written. And like, I really just fell in love with her books during the pandemic. And I was like, I'm so excited for Addie LaRue. And I was like halfway through and I was like, I don't know. But then the second half was so much better. It actually made up for the first part of the book. And so I think some of it was the anticipation that made me like it so much, wanting it to be good. But I love how it came together at the end. And I think she does really great world building. And I really just liked that world. So I think that's why I would name that one.
Very, very cool. What about your favorite book to movie or TV show? There's been a lot since the pandemic started of books to movies and TV shows. You don't have to pick one of those. You can pick one from previous. You know which one I thought of the other day that I've never talked about on the show was Where the Red Fern Grows. Okay, so I'm going to warn everyone in advance. There is a disclaimer on this bad boy. I watched this when I was a kid. It's an older movie. I think it was made in the late 70s or something like that, Where the Red Fern Grows. It's a story of this boy that saves up money on this farm to buy two hunting dogs. Needless to say, very much like Old Yeller, you're going to cry, but I forgot that you will cry. There's crying. This was one of the ones that broke me as a child. But the book was very much like this movie. They followed it pretty much the same as the book, Where the Red Fern Grows. Amazing, but just be prepared, like Old Yeller, you will cry. Yep. Okay, now back to you.
Okay, I'm gonna say one of my favorite adaptations, because I think they did it better than the book, was The Man in the High Castle. So this was it was like a short run TV series off of Amazon Prime. But the book originally by Philip K. Dick, I watched the show and I was like, oh, this is such an interesting concept, like alternate history. Definitely want to check out the book now. The book, I was like, I'm glad I watched the show first. So I definitely, there's only a few books I will say this for where the adaptation was better, but this is one of them. So I really like that one. Forrest Gump is the other one. The book Forrest Gump. Not great. The movie, oh my gosh, so amazing.
Who said that last time?
Somebody said that because
Somebody, yeah.
It was on our host episode, I think, because I think Val said it. Yeah. And I think that's true because from what I've heard of Forrest Gump, I haven't read the book. It's very slow. Like it's very kind of like dry, slow, not a lot of,
and almost absurd at certain points. Like it jumps the shark a few times where I'm just like, okay. But the movie was very much just like nice timepiece of like, even somebody like, I didn't live through those events, but I was still like, oh, I feel like I was there with Forrest.
You know what's interesting is the Movies That Made Us, which is a show on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, if you, any of these movies, Forrest Gump's one of the ones, and they talked about getting this movie made and how hard it was, but also what, like, because Tom Hanks put his own money into this movie. Like they had a lot of problems trying to get this movie made and parts of it and parts of the script and stuff like that. If you ever get a chance to look up Movies That Made Us and look up movies that you might have been a fan of, because they have a bunch of different versions, like they have holiday movies and they have horror movies. Aliens is my favorite movie of all time. And Aliens, I love it. And it had the Movies That Made Us. And one of the things you find out is, so Sigourney Weaver was in the first one. They came up with this concept for the second one, talked about it, got it all thing, but forgot to ask her about it. So when they finally did ask her, she had already heard they were trying to do this. So she got $1 million for making that movie, which at the time was huge. Like now you hear about salaries, 14, 15 million. But at the time, this is, you know, she was known, but she was not like huge. And this is a horror movie. And they had a $15 million budget to make this movie. And $1 million had to go to her because she found out after the fact that they were trying to make this movie. And she was like, yeah, no, I already know. So you can have me for $1 million. And the original name of that was Mothers. It wasn't Aliens. It was Mothers. Because it's about her as a mother and the alien as a mother. They were calling it Mothers. And then they were like, that's a dumb name. So Forrest Gump happens to be one of those. You can learn lots about Forrest Gump on there.
Yes. Okay. Good to know.
Okay. What adaptation did you feel like was like, oh God, this was terrible. They should never have done this?
A few. Let me think. What was the worst adaptation I've seen? I feel like usually if I start it and I don't like it, I just won't even go there. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so tough.
I'll tell you something CR started saying that I actually agree with. It took many episodes for this to sink in, by the way, which is I get so mad about the adaptation of books to movies because I feel like they kind of ruined it. But something she said is that she treats it like it's fan fiction. Even though they're doing it based off the book, she treats it as if the movie or the TV show is fan fiction. And fan fiction takes characters or story or backdrop and makes its own version of that story or its own thing. Like, for instance, there's a joke about Supernatural. A lot of the Supernatural fan fiction stems around Dean and Sam being a gay couple, or Dean and Castiel being a gay couple. Like, there is a lot of that fan fiction. Brilliant, but it's completely their version and take of the story. And if you treat it like that, I was like, okay, you know what? I can let some of my angst go about stuff. Like, one of the worst adaptations, I think, was Silver Linings Playbook, because there was a completely different story in that book than what was told. Although they had a great cast with Bradley Cooper and all these other, you know, Jennifer Lawrence, all these people, but it wasn't it wasn't what that book was or what that book was about. But I went, okay, if I go fan fiction and pretend like they didn't try to make that actual book into a movie, I can let it go.
You can
But-
almost enjoy it at that point.
Yes. I just
Yeah.
have to now do this as I'm turning on the TV and watching these things because I
Give yourself a
I
pep
start
talk.
getting
It's
really
just fan
mad.
fiction. It's just fan
Yeah.
fiction.
I think I got to the point with the Harry Potter books because the movies started coming out as I was reading the books and I was like, they like deleted entire characters. Like that's not okay. And then I think as I got older, I was like, yeah, it makes sense because then it would have been like a 5-hour movie. But then they deleted some things that kind of you needed for later movies. So they had to like work it around. And I was like, see, you shouldn't have deleted things. So
No, it's
My
true.
husband gets super worked out about Goblet of Fire. If you ever really want to make him mad, just say how much you enjoyed that movie. Say it was just amazing. And it'll just destroy him.
I got mad because on Harry Potter, and I forget which one this was, but they added a scene in, I want to say it's the 6th or 7th movie where they blow up the like Weasley household and stuff that like
Mhm.
wasn't in
Yeah.
the books. Like there's that whole like the way they did the wedding.
Order of the
thing and stuff.
Phoenix, I think.
Maybe. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm sitting there and I remember because I was sitting with my daughter and my son at the time, and my daughter had read all those books and she's like, and she's younger, right? And she's like, that's not in the book. And I went, you had so much, and I get it. I get you have to cut things. You can't go into detail. Like they completely cut the whole, Hermione elf storyline and helping the
Mhm.
house elves and, which was, I thought, a really kind of important part of the book about standing up for people, but whatever, they cut all that stuff. But then they went and added something that didn't make a difference at
Mhm.
all
To the plot.
to anything or the movie or whatever. And I was like, okay, whoever did this just needs to be junk punched. Like seriously,
Yeah.
just needs to
I
be
really-
punched in the face.
I think one of the worst things they did was with Neville's character is because you don't understand like how monumentous it is with him at the end.
Mhm.
It's because you don't really see him for like you see him in the first one a little bit and then he slowly dies out and then all of a sudden he's just like fucking hero. Like
Well,
you're just like,
because by
how
the time
where
they
the
were
hell did he
making-
come from?
By the time they were making the movies, they're like, oh, there's this prophecy where it could also be Neville instead of Harry, and Voldemort actually chose which one by who he attacked. Oops, I guess we need to bring you in for more scenes in the next few
Exactly.
movies. Oops.
Oh my gosh. Okay. See our
Turn
next
into a
one.
giant bashing scene.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
if you
I would say J.K. Rowling won't be on this podcast, but no offense, I wouldn't ask her to be anyway, because what the fuck right now. But
Yes.
anyway, not gonna go down that path. See our
if you could be any lead character in any book, who would it be? But you have to live their life exactly as their story was told.
Exactly.
I love the look that MK just got. I can't
I
wait
was
till
like,
people
"Oh,
watch
she's-
this YouTube because she was like, oh,
Sorry,
no,
Dad. And then
no.
I'm not.
I don't want to live those lives.
I don't know. Well, all my favorite characters have these tortured pasts, so I'm like, well, I don't want to live their lives. Okay, so don't hate me because I write dark, twisty fiction and science fiction. I've been on this kick of late of reading just like super light rom-coms because life's too stressful and I just need an easy read at the end of the day. And so Carrie Winfrey wrote the book Waiting for Tom Hanks. And then she wrote a follow-up, Not Like the Movies, and it was really good. And so I would be any of the characters in those two books because you know what? They get their happy endings and it's everybody's happy and coupled up with super hunky movie stars.
But you don't know
That's
what
what-
happens afterwards. It's only happy ever after for that day.
No, it says happily ever after. And after
It says
and after and after.
forever. It says
It's
forever
forever.
on that.
It's
Okay, I
forever
was
and
gonna
ever.
say like,
That's how
all books
rom-coms
end-
work. They never pay
I see.
taxes. Nobody ever dies. Nobody gains
They
a
get that
pound. amazing.
amazing inheritance. They never have to
Yes.
worry about anything. I like it.
Gina Showalter wrote a series, and it's the heart of something. I'm not saying it right, so if you hear me, do not judge me. But they're in a town called Strawberry Fields, and it's these three hunky dudes that got out of prison but run a computer gaming company in the middle of this fucking small town somewhere, because that would happen.
Of course.
And they're billionaires,
Absolutely.
of course. And the reason they were in jail was because they saved a girl who was being raped, but the guy got killed because he got shoved down. And so they
Mhm.
were in jail for this, but now they're out, and now they get with 3 different girls who were in the town. It's like 2 of them are sisters and one of them's like a best friend. But anyway, but it's
Sure.
very similar to that. Like the worst things that happen to these people are not really that bad.
No.
And they get with these hunky billionaire game writers. And I was like, yeah, I could
Yeah.
do that. I could be with a
Yeah.
billionaire
Done.
movie game
Yeah.
writer who has all these hunky friends and buys me my entire house and property that I love, and this hotel that
Sure.
was in my family for years, and now they bought it for me so I can renovate it, but don't actually have to work, because for whatever reason in the book, I'm never at the hotel that I'm supposed to be working at. They're never at work. Anybody
No.
ever notice that about rom-coms? They're
No.
never
Drives me
actually.
insane. I'm
'Cause
like,
that's the
how are
fantasy.
you living? It's in the
Yeah.
middle of the day. Don't you have a job? Everybody's always going for coffee. Like, there's no way you could actually do that. You'd be broke.
No.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you'd
I was
also be
like-
up until 2 a.m. every morning. Like,
Yes.
calm down.
So
But
true.
they all go to bed at a respectable hour.
And they all answer their cell phone the first try, which I think is just impressive, because
Bullshit.
I don't even know where my phone
I
is
screen my
right
calls.
now.
Exactly. Like my phone, I was going to say, is on silent. So you're not getting me on the first try, no matter what you do. Nice try,
Mhm.
though.
But if you were in a rom-com, you would always have your phone on because, Mr. Right could be calling at any moment.
And never have a case on your phone.
Never.
Never drop it either.
Never. Well, I
That's-
saw
that's-
this, there was like this funny video. I forget where I saw it, but it was last year, where it was like, I think I need to report into the tourism board in Vermont. I'm a successful career woman and I've always put my job over love. And I've been here for a week and there haven't been any festivals.
Oh my God, I saw that.
I
with
saw
single
that.
men. There's been no
Yes.
billionaires who need my help pulling their horse-drawn sleigh. I'm confused. But I'm here wandering in this orchard, just waiting, like making fun of all the Hallmark movie stereotypes of like, I did everything right.
That's,
Yes,
I have
I
a
saw
friend that
that.
writes Hallmark romance books, and I tease her all the time because she loves the Hallmark Channel. And I'll go, oh my God, did you see that one about the raccoon vet in Montana that falls in love with the baker who bakes gluten-free bread? And she'll be like, what is the name of that? And I'm like, that's not a fucking movie. Like, I just made that up. A raccoon vet? How the hell would that be a real name?
That is so specific.
Every single time, though, and I'm not like being generic, I'll be really specific and she'll fall for it every single I'm like, that's not a movie. That's absolutely not a movie. Okay. If you because you write the darker stuff, do you ever get when you're reading the horror books and stuff, do you ever get freaked out?
Yes, definitely more so since my daughter's been born. I think I don't know, like if it's like this motherly instinct of like, I just do not like it. I read a book. What is the name of it? It's the latest one in J.K. Rowling's like detective series. What was the name of it? But it dealt with a serial killer and multiple serial killers and like just doing gruesome, horrible things. And I had nightmares. I was like, I couldn't imagine it, of like this person just randomly picking and attacking people. I was like, I couldn't handle it anymore. And I think it's just been since I became a mom, I'm like, I can't picture like she's going to grow up in the world and look exactly as cute as she is now. And I don't want her to ever be near a serial killer. No, I don't want to read about that no more. No, freaks me out. Freaks me out. I'm going to look up the title because I feel very bad that I've forgotten the title because I read too many books.
There's no such thing as reading too many. How many books did you read last year?
Well, Goodreads says I read 20 something, but if you count all the children's books I had to read 50 million times and have now memorized, I've read a lot more.
You know what my favorite children's book is, but not the hippopotamus.
Yeah.
It's a cute little, like, for very young children, but not the hippopotamus.
Not that much. I will check it out.
It's very cute.
My mother
I'm always
used to read
looking
me
for
the
new
Grimm
ones.
fairy tales when I was
Troubled
a
Blood.
child.
Grim. What is the name of it?
Troubled Blood by
Troubled
Robert
Blood.
Galbraith, which is also actually J.K. Rowling. That was the one. It creeped me out too much. There was like too much graphic serial killer stuff, and I was like, can't handle it.
Well, if I actually can, between publishing and day job, actually write this year, don't read my Florida hunting grounds then.
Okay.
Yeah. You
I
will not
will.
like it. It's really
I will
bad because
deter.
it's just going to be a series and I've written all the ideas and I've talked to my boyfriend, like we were driving and I got this idea for one and he's like, what are you thinking about? Because I guess I got really quiet and I told him and he's like, yeah, you scare me like a lot. And I'm like, just think if I was actually evil. Like,
I tell my husband that. I tell Corey that all the time. I'm like, can you imagine alternate universe crazy Chelsea? Because like I'm bad enough now, but like alternate universe Chelsea is probably not a very nice person.
no, I was gonna say this one is borderline anyway. So Chelsea,
Literally.
what is your next question, my friend?
If you could be a friend with any character, who would it be?
I would pick Lila Bard from the Shades of Magic series because she's a badass and she could take me to the other Londons. We could go to regular London and then we can see all the other Londons, and that would be badass.
Have you been to London?
No, I want to go to regular London to meet Lila there, and then we'll go to Red London.
No, I think
So
that
this is a
sounds
mission. I
perfect.
like it.
Absolutely. I was very fortunate a couple of years ago to get to go to London, and it was pretty awesome. And I had made people give me tea and crumpets. By the way, don't apparently say crumpets over there. It has a different meaning, I've discovered. Crumpet is
Really?
absolutely a pastry type dessert thing that goes with tea, but it also means like a slut. So like that is a slang word for slut over there. So do not refer to people. They also, if you have a one-on-one conversation with somebody, they call it an intimate conversation. And I had to tell them to stop referring to that at my day job as an intimate conversation because that had different meaning here. And when I explained it to them, they're like, oh, and that's when they told me to stop saying crumpet. So it balanced out.
Connections.
You made them
Across
uncomfortable.
cultures.
They made you uncomfortable.
Yeah. What is your favorite way to read? MK, did we cover this before? Like, do you like paperbacks? Do you like ebooks? Do you like audiobooks? Like, what is your
I definitely prefer ebooks and paperbacks. I think if usually however I can get it the quickest from the library. Like pre-pandemic, I would look and I'd be like, okay, well, do they have a large print? Do they have the hardcover? Do they have a paperback? Do they have the ebook? What is the shortest wait time right now? Let me put holds on them all and see which one comes in first. Since the pandemic, it's been much more ebooks. Just because, well, first of all, I also have a baby. So there's a pandemic and a baby. And so that's a double whammy of like, I'm never leaving the house. Are you? I'm not, no. But our condo has a really nice library area down here. And so there'll be times where I'm just like waiting all these books. I'm like, I keep having to wait. And I'm like, I'm just going to go in the library and grab a book. So, well, however it's printed, I'll read it. Audiobooks, I used to have more time for when my ears just had more available time. They don't as much anymore, but I do like ebooks, especially for nonfiction, because to me, it's like listening to like a long form podcast. But usually during the day, during my working hours, I'm either editing video, doing client work. So I like need music. I can't be like listening to something to like listen to it. I'm editing my audiobook, which I need to do. So yeah, it's harder for me to listen nowadays, but I'm hoping to get back to that as my free time eventually will increase again, maybe. Who knows?
I found that I have more time for audiobooks now than I have for anything else because anytime I do a chore, like go drive somewhere, because here Amazon does not deliver to my house because I'm on a mountain. So I have to drive to the post office, which by the way, completely changed my existence because that whole like Amazon will deliver it to your door shit doesn't exist here. So you have to be like, do I want to drive to the post office between set hours to go pick up said item? I don't need it that bad. It's slightly curbed my purchasing habits, only slightly. But I throw the audiobook in. I've listened to the Dune again and the Dune Messiah. I don't know how I feel about book 2, but we'll see on book 3. My boyfriend wanted to listen to it too. And I was like, maybe this was much better when I read it than listening to it because repeated phrases, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but repeated phrases you hear 10 times more in an audiobook than when you're reading it. You don't realize they say the same thing necessarily because it's like another chapter later, but when you're listening to it and you're driving, you're like, did they just Oh God, they've said the same phrase like 10 times.
Mhm.
Crazy. Okay, CR, you get the final question, the final one. Don't do the $1 million one, do the other ones.
The invention one,
Sure,
I have so many.
I know.
If you can uninvent one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, the atom bomb.
Kitties.
I don't think anything good came from it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's really stressful. And like, okay, so I did hear this, and this is one of the minor fringe negative externalities of the atom bomb. All bad things happen from it. But apparently, if you're dating antique wine and you're trying to like forge it, they can tell because there was like traces of like nuclear particles in any wine that's been made after the atom bombs were dropped. And so, like, if you're saying, oh, this is a 100-year-old wine, they're like, bullshit, like calling that. So that's one thing I learned about. I was like, that's so crazy. That means those particles are in the air. Like we're all breathing them in all the time, anyways, and they're in our wine. They're in our wine.
They
I'm not going to stop drinking wine, but it freaked me out. And all the other bad things that have happened from atom bombs, obviously.
wine being number one.
But
Just
it
kidding.
teaches you things.
Yeah. Well, it also ended that part of the war very quickly. But
It did.
again, you don't know that. I mean, it is a pretty terrible thing, but I think it's true with anything somebody decides to uninvent.
Mhm.
Is what is the butterfly effect from
Mhm.
uninventing
Mhm.
something, right?
Mhm.
Oh
What
my gosh.
repercussions are you willing to endure?
Yeah. That's actually something I like kind of touched on a bit in the book. Sorry to be that person, but like once you invent a time machine, like how do you uninvent a time machine? And like you don't. And like I actually kind of talk a bit about Albert Einstein in here because he said like one of his greatest regrets at the end of his life was to help with the Manhattan Project. He was like, I completely regret it. So
Do a Walter Bishop, just take it apart, scatter it across the whole world in different PO boxes under different names.
there you go.
Then have somebody cut the piece of where it is out of your brain. Super easy.
Super, yeah, no, that's not super easy. That is not super easy. Okay, MK, tell people how to find all of your wonderfulness.
I am on the internet as MK Williams. All my books, fiction and nonfiction, are written under MK Williams. So you can see the fiction I write and then all my how-to guides for self-publishing. So you know I actually did the work and I don't just write how-to books without actually having done the thing. My latest book that's coming out is The Alpha Nina. It is beautiful and blue and pretty. And it is the sequel to The Infinite Infinite. You can get these books and all of my books anywhere that you find great books, including your library. And if your library does not have it, you can request that they purchase it in ebook or paperback format. And I'm online at the number one MK Williams on YouTube. One MK Williams, author your ambition. I'm easy to find, but there is another MK Williams. He's a dude. I am not a dude, so you'll know which one it is because I am a female and he is a man. So
Very
I am that.
clearly.
I'm the one MK Williams. Yes.
The one MK Williams. Thank you for being on our podcast again. It is so great to see you again.
Thanks for having me. This is always so fun.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad you came back and I'm so glad your books are out and that's exciting and that you're super productive during the pandemic, which is so cool. So guys, check her out everywhere. And also don't forget out there that if you have a small little bookstore near you, they are the right place to go buy books. And if you want a book by somebody and they don't have it, just let them know what the book is and they can get it ordered for you. It is possible and it supports local businesses, which is really super duper awesome. So do that. Okay. This has been Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. I have been your host, Erica Lance. My co-host have been C.R. Rice. Our guest has been the intrepid MK Williams. And our sponsor has been Skunk Brothers Spirits. Just read that off the label, so I didn't say it wrong again. And you can get any of their stuff with coupon code DWA10 for 10% off. And we will see you next time.